All right, if you did not know, we are about to get universal health care for everybody in this country. Bernie Sanders and Pramila Jayapal are on the task. Let's hear about it. We got Hardlands Media, Kit Cabello talking to James Fontelroy. Fontelroy. Double up.
Has to deal with Medicare for all. Representative Pramila Jayapal is talking about introducing Medicare for all bill in Congress now that the Democrats don't have any power in the Senate and House
Don't.
because the Republicans ran through in the both in the election of 2024 on November 5th. They got control of the House, the Senate, and the White House. So, what does this mean? Now it's a perfect time to talk about Medicare for all and bring in the bill that will go absolutely nowhere.
Right, not forcing the vote when Joe Biden's in office and Nancy Pelosi is going to be the Speaker of the House. But now, when Donald Trump and the Republicans have control of all three branches, now is the perfect time to do some nothingness.
Why would you do this, Democrats? What madness possessed you? Why would you do this at all, period?
Congresswoman, on the 100th day of Trump's presidency, you and Senator Sanders introduced Medicaid for all. What are you hoping to do with this legislation? Does it have any hope, or is this a symbolic move to get the conversation
Good
going
question.
again?
Symbolicies.
Well, we introduced Medicare for all, and basically what we've been saying is there are 100 million Americans who are uninsured or underinsured in the richest country in the world. There are literally people, 1 in 3 Americans has medical debt totaling a total of $220 billion of medical debt. And so what we know is that Americans across the country want affordable quality healthcare. And the United States is the only country, industrialized country in the world that does not provide it. In fact, the United States, we spend more on healthcare per capita and have less outcomes, worse outcomes than other countries. So Medicare for all is just saying your government insurance could be covered by Medicare, an expanded, improved Medicare, and everybody would have healthcare, no premium, private insurance premiums, no deductibles, no co-pays.
Man, that sounds like a good idea.
You would actually have healthcare from the day you were born to the day you die. It is incredibly popular. 70% of people across America support it, and I think we need to continue to push it out because
continue. Why didn't you do this a couple years ago? This is starting to push it out. You ain't pushed nothing out. What do you mean continue?
Is a travesty. It's criminal in my mind that so many people are dying without health care in the richest country in the world.
Just now it's a crime?
Congresswoman, there is a difference between universal health care and Medicare for all, single-payer health care. So I guess I'm wondering, why is this the road you're going down? Because if we're going to have a Scandinavian-style social safety net, or if for that matter, a Canadian-style one, that requires a Scandinavian-style tax burden, which...
And it comes down to taxes. JB, as someone who's dealt with the healthcare insurance industry, the medical system, I want to give the floor to you.
While it is a tax burden, people talk about when it comes to a public policy, it'd be a tax burden, but they never talk about the private tax burden. Mm-hmm. Because how many people are spending, $3, $4, $5, $6, $700 a month on health insurance? I'll give an anecdotal example. Before my kidneys failed 17 years ago, well, almost 18 years ago, I avoided going to the doctors because even though I had insurance, I didn't want to have to pay the copay. So I had insurance. So I was what you call underinsured, meaning I had insurance, but I couldn't afford to go to get the copay in order to be able to see the doctor, which means that they wanted me to go get more testing, which would have been more of a copay and all that, right? Mm-hmm. And so then I ended up having to go to the emergency room, and I wound up on dialysis anyway, which something that could have been avoided. I could have probably got a kidney transplant before that, but it never happened. And so my problem with Pramila Jayapal is just exactly what you said in the outset. Where was this bill when Joe Biden was president?
Where was this energy?
Thank you.
Because they always choose, I'll put it this way, they always choose to jump the hurdle when the wall is 20 feet high. But when the wall is 3 feet high, they don't choose to jump that hurdle.
Well, I wouldn't say that was the reason, because Joe Biden said he was going to veto universal health care if it came to his desk. So they knew the wall was just as high. They just didn't want to show how high the wall was when Democrats were in office. They want to show how high the wall is now that Republicans are in office.
It's supposed to be an easier hurdle to jump if you have a Democratic president, and then if you have a Democrat-controlled Senate and a Democrat-controlled House. It's supposed to be an easier hurdle, so why not do it with them? And also, you knew, because on Lawrence O'Donnell's last week tonight, Lawrence O'Donnell actually asked Joe Biden, before he became president, if Medicare for All was passed in the House and the Senate, and it came to your desk, would you sign it? And he said no.
I haven't watched this yet.
His bluff. Do it.
Thank you.
But again, it's not calling his bluff. He's going to not sign it. But it's just they don't want to show how high the wall is when Democrats are in office. They got to keep the facade that the Democrats care about people. And I have no idea why. Like, it's crazy that during Obama's term, the first term in office, that he didn't pass universal health care. But if he didn't do it with the supermajority he had, the Democrats are never going to do it.
On his bluff. Have it passed in the House, have it passed in the Senate, put it in front of him, and let him veto it. And then
I don't think it would have passed in the House and
see
the Senate.
that guy? This is why I'm not going to endorse him, because he vetoed Medicare for all of us. But no, they didn't, because they wanted to say, just help him save face. Because they were like, oh, but he's a Democrat. So what? So what?
Mm-hmm.
If he's not willing to do the right thing,
It doesn't
then
matter,
screw him.
right?
Get him out of the way. But see, this is how Camilla Jayapal plays the game, right?
Mm-hmm.
Camilla Jayapal will only wait until there's no possibility of it ever passing, right? Now they have, a Republican-controlled House, a Republican-controlled Senate, and a Republican-controlled White House, and they go, well, see, we're trying to pass it. But in reality, they know it won't pass. And this is what the Democratic Party does every single time. They'll do it when
But again, they know it won't pass even if the Democrats are in, because there's not going to be enough Democrats to vote for one in the Senate or the House, most likely, like there wouldn't have been when Nancy Pelosi was in. But then, like Joe Biden said, he'd veto it. If they did pass it, he'd veto it. So they know it won't pass regardless of who's in the presidency or in the Senate or in the House.
they know it's impossible.
And it would pass if we had a majority Green Party in the Senate, House, and then the Green Party president. Guarantee no Green Party president would say, oh, I'm going to veto it if it comes to my desk, universal health care. We'd sign that stuff right away, day one. Everybody in America.
But when it actually has possibility to actually pass, they don't do a damn thing. Because they never wanted it to pass.
But see, I think that's where he gets it wrong, is that they know it's not going to pass. They're just not going to do a damn thing because they don't want to show that they're not going to pass it, which by not putting it up shows that they're not going to pass it. So I skipped ahead just a little bit. Again, I'll always leave the links in the description below if you want to watch the whole thing.
We do not have here, which there is no appetite for here. Democrats can't even get on board with allowing Trump's tax cuts from 2017 to lapse. I mean, doing something like this, as opposed to many of the other models that exist out there to ensure universal health care, which, as you point out, every other industrialized country has. This is much more expensive and requires much higher taxes.
Well, actually, that's not true. The Congressional Budget Office has come back and done a study of what Medicare for All would cost. And what they've said is it would actually cost significantly less in total expenditures, because you have to remember what people are doing now is they're paying through their copays, through their private insurance premiums. We've even had a lot of businesses come on board, and even labor unions that have negotiated healthcare as part of their bargaining efforts are saying, you know what, we need this other system.
But seeing another thing, it hurts jobs. It hurts small market jobs or like mom and pop jobs, to where if a job is where you get your insurance, if the United States or your country provides the insurance, the jobs don't have to worry about that. Like Walmart can provide you insurance. Other big companies, Amazon, can provide you insurance. But like a startup will have a lot harder time providing people insurance. And so it's harder to go work for there or harder to do your own startup or anything like that because insurance is tied to your job. So you got to have a job at a place that has enough money to provide you insurance from the start. And not every company in America can do that. So it should be the nation's responsibility to provide its citizens with certain things, healthcare being one of those things.
Because it costs so much. And the private insurance companies have generated about $371 billion of profits just in the last decade. So I think that
the
this
CBO report, I read the CBO report. It says it would increase the annual costs to the government for Medicare, for health expenditures rather, by $4 trillion. Something has to pay for that. Well, even if you seized all of the wealth of all of the billionaires in America one time, that would pay for it for about 1 year.
Well, but the thing is that people are already paying for it. So if they pay.
So hold on, JB, take it away.
If seizes all the wealth from the billionaires, good. Okay. Fine by me. Oh, we don't have any more billionaires. Ha ha, that's party time. All right, let's go. Hey, let's go, let's dance. Because here's the thing.
Mm-hmm.
Like Thomas I'm sorry. I can't speak today. Like Thomas Sankara said, would you rather have champagne for a few or clean drinking water for all? Which one would you rather have?
Exactly.
Clean drinking water for all, because water is needed. Champagne.
See, yeah, we're a country that we like to say, oh, look at our best and the ones who are the richest, and this is what proves our country as being great, where we let so many people starve and just leave them behind. It should be you look at your country as the floor. Like, how are the worst of us? Are the worst of us taken care of? Do they have water? Do they have shelter? Do they have health care? And then everybody else that's above that is above that, right? Like, the floor should be that, and that should what makes you be considered to be a great country.
While it's nice, no.
And if you want to get fancy, we'll have clean drinking water in champagne glasses. Okay, but still, clean drinking water for all. Because I'll be damned if I let somebody die just because, oh, well, they don't have enough money because they have to pay, because of our healthcare being paywalled. And so this whole like, oh, well, taxes will go up. Yeah, no shit, Sherlock. But the thing is, like, ultimately, it's about what the cost is going to be to American people. You keep focusing on, well, the government's going to be paying this much. The government is a currency issuer.
Right. They got all the money.
The money. So then if people are paying back into the government anyway, then of course that money's not going to be going to the shareholders and the people at the top of these private insurance corporations. That's going to be sucking the money out of the system. So that money's actually going to be recycled back in.
There you go.
And then on top of it, everybody's covered. And I don't know about you, but I would like to have the same health coverage as Jeff Bezos.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, that'd be
Me
so
too.
nice.
I'm cool with that.
That would
I'd
be
be cool
nice
with
if
that.
we could actually have health care in which we don't have to worry about going into medical debt, medical bankruptcy,
Or like have the same kind of body coverage as a pro athlete. Like you go out there and you sprain your ankle or accidentally slip on some ice and tear up your knee, like sprain your MCL or tear your ACL or something like that. Or all these hip replacements now. Like if everybody got the coverage like a pro athlete, we all, man, people be running out here doing cartwheels and stuff. Alakazam. All right, now we're gonna check out Sabby Sabs talking about the same thing, but she's gonna talk a little bit more about Bernie Sanders too, I think.
Exactly what we need. Let's fight. Let's try to get this done. But I think that if you follow me through this segment, you will see my frustration Number one, I wholeheartedly support Medicare for all. I've
Yes.
marched for Medicare for all. I was an MC at the Boston Medicare for All rally about 3.5 years ago. I've advocated for Medicare for all for years. I am someone who has been directly impacted by the healthcare system that we have in this country. I know what it's like to have to pay to visit the doctor when you don't have insurance or you have inadequate insurance.
Or just don't
so
go.
I've been in that position and I know what it's like. That is a policy that I could never change my mind on. There are many countries in the world that have universal health care and we do not. And I think you all know that a lot of this has to deal with driven profit. That being said,
Profit for a
I
few.
do not want people to become so excited about this that they lose sight of reality at this current point in
Oh,
time.
don't become excited about this at all.
Right now, Donald Trump is president of the United States. The Democrats do not have the House. The Democrats do not have the Senate.
They ain't got nothing.
So while Bernie Sanders and Pramila Jayapal are reintroducing this, they are doing so knowing that it is not going to pass the House. It won't make it to the Senate if it doesn't pass the House. And let's say in some magical world it did,
Bizarro
Donald Trump
land.
would never pass Medicare for all. He would never sign it. He would veto it. So what is this?
You know what would be really funny is if that Pramila Jayapal and Bernie Sanders did get like the bill to come to the House or whatever, and say the Republicans did pass it, and then the Senate, they did pass it, then the House passed it, or I forget whichever one goes first. But then say Donald Trump did sign it into law. What if the Republicans did give us universal health care? What would the Democrats say? What would they do if the Republicans just like called their bluff and like, well, yeah, there's really no better way to do this. We might as well just be the ones to do it. And they pass universal health care. That would be so funny and like, I mean, so good for the American people. That would be amazing, right? But just that the Democrats won't do it themselves and can't do it when they're in office, but then they want to act like when the Republicans are in office, oh, now we want it, we're going to put it up. Republicans, call their bluff.
It's really all about. Let's get into the announcement here. Shout out to Case Study QB doing the damn thing. Check this out.
Democrats on the
Everybody on the left uses Case Study QB a lot.
Hill introducing the Medicare for All bill. The measure would
I guess
provide
that
health
was
care
using
to all Americans with zero out-of-pocket expense and total choice of provider. The legislation will likely face challenges from Republicans in both chambers.
No,
Democrats.
Okay, did you hear what she just said? The legislation would most likely face challenge from Republicans in both chambers.
But see, when they tried to, when Jimmy Dore and the YouTube left tried to force the vote when Nancy Pelosi was running for Speaker of the House, it would have faced not backlash the word, but resistance from Democrats, right? Like it would have faced resistance from Republicans then too, but Democrats had the majority, so they knew that not all the Democrats would have voted for it and that it wouldn't pass, so it would have faced resistance from Democrats too back then. But now all the Democrats can vote for it, knowing that most of the Republicans aren't, or at least enough Republicans are not.
And people get upset when I say they're doing something that's performative. This is a perfect example because they know that this is not going to pass. They're getting people excited, getting people's hopes up. And honestly, the better time to do this, and some of us talked about this then, was during Force the Vote. It was under Joe Biden's administration. So some of you may be wondering, why is it that Bernie Sanders and Pramila Jayapal did not decide to force the vote on Medicare for all, or to push it, or to try to reintroduce this again under the Biden administration? Well, there's a difference between making Donald Trump look bad, and actually you probably don't really have to do that. He does that a lot of times on his own.
Yep.
And making Joe Biden look bad. Don't forget, even though Bernie Sanders is an independent, he caucuses with the Democratic Party. And Pramila Jayapal is a Democrat in the House. The problem with the parties is that oftentimes, even those who support those universal policies, they only want to seem to try to fight for it when the Republicans are in control. When there's a Republican president, or there's a Republican House or Republican Senate, they know it's not going to pass. Then they can point their fingers and they can say, look, all those Republicans feel that you shouldn't have health care.
Exactly.
What about all the Democrats that feel you shouldn't have health care?
Exactly.
One of the reasons for force the vote was because it came directly from the DSA handbook. Directly from the DSA handbook. So the idea was that when members of DSA, Justice Democrats, when they have a narrow majority in the House, which they did at that time, then would be the time for them to force a vote for Medicare for all. The strategy at that point in time was to withhold their vote for Nancy Pelosi as Speaker unless she agreed to present the Medicare for all bill on the floor. Now, at that time, part of the reason why I feel like this did not come into light, obviously, Nancy Pelosi, the squad not wanting to push back on Dem leadership, wanting to keep their seats. That's a big part of it. But the other part of it is, even in independent media, TYT was against it and Majority Report was against it. They have the largest audience, right? If you look at all the other independent media channels that support these progressive policies,
right?
They don't have the numbers that TYT.
I don't talk about TYT as much. I don't care to watch TYT. To me, they're too far gone. They've been gone for like 10 years or more. I haven't been watching them in a long time. But, I talk about the Majority Report, and I be going to Secular Talk and Breaking Points, the liberals and whatnot. But TYT is just a little bit too far gone for me. I don't really care about them no more.
And Majority Report did at that point in time. Even though many of TYT's viewers said they supported the squad forcing the vote against Nancy Pelosi.
Yeah, they did.
The hosts, Cenk Uygur and Anna Kasparian, decided, nope, we are not going in that direction.
You got to protect the Democrats.
And the reason that they gave is that it is not going to pass. But the strategy of force the vote was not just focusing on whether or not it would pass. The strategy was to primary every single one of the Democrat politicians
who didn't vote for it,
that would vote against Medicare for all during the time of a pandemic. That really was the optimum time to do it, and it was a missed opportunity. There was a force the vote town hall. Number of people participated. Everyone mentions Jimmy Dore.
I don't understand how people can still be voting for the Democrats. They had the power or whatever when we had this pandemic. Joe Biden could have signed an executive order saying there was a national disaster emergency, a national emergency, and passed universal health care by himself. But then he gonna talk about he wouldn't even pass it at the Senate and then passed it. Like, that's crazy. The Democrats just told you that if there is an actual world pandemic that they say killing people, whether you believe in the pandemic or not, whether you think it was real or not, it doesn't matter at this point. But they said it was. So if they say it was, when they say that a national or a worldwide pandemic is killing people and they still won't pass universal health care for their citizens, isn't that just saying I really don't give about you at all?
But I want to remind you, all the people who were part of that town hall who supported it: Dr. Cornel West, Breonna Joy Gray, Kyle Kulinski, Crystal Ball, Katie Halper.
Kyle Kulinski and Crystal Ball were there.
People who had healthcare crisis that came onto the town hall and talked about their story. I watched all of this play out in real life. In fact, it's part of the reason why I started this show, because I was beyond baffled that not one politician attended that town hall. Not one. And it's at Ro Khanna, as much as he likes to tout, we're fighting now, Ro Khanna was nowhere to be found.
Bro, he should be in the Green Party.
No AOC, no Ilhan, not one of them who said they supported Medicare for all was willing to participate in that town hall. It was an utter disgrace to me, in my opinion. This really doesn't have anything to do with Jimmy Dore, despite what Jamal Bowman said on Bad Faith podcast. What this has to do with is those politicians not wanting to upset Dem leadership because they didn't want to lose their seat.
Exactly. They didn't want to upset the Dem leadership. So we're going to leave this here. I'm for universal health care. The Green Party's for universal health care. I would think most people watching this channel are for universal health care. A lot of people get mad at me for not supporting the Dems. The Dems don't support you. They don't support us. What is the point of supporting a party that just supports corporations in a little bit nicer way than the other party. Like, they're no different. They do the same stuff. They're not going to pass the stuff that we need and want. They're going to pass the stuff that the rich people wanting whatever, and that's basically going to be it. And you would know this. All your friends, everybody would know this if they listen to Across the Spectrum.